Welcome to Saxon Math Course 1. Today we're looking at Lesson 16, Rounding Whole Numbers and Estimating. Our objectives for today: after this lesson you should be able to round whole numbers to the nearest 10, 100, and 1,000. Use rounding to help estimate the answer to a problem. And use estimation skills when reading graphs. Some review from Lesson 15. We talked about equal groups problems, which follow a multiplication pattern. And if any number but the total is missing, you have to divide to solve. Let's talk a little bit about rounding. So rounding is finding the nearest number, and that number usually ends with a 0, to the number that you're given. So you're finding the closest number that ends in a 0 to the number that you're given. So for example, round 268 to the nearest 10. So first we find the tens that 268 is in between. 268 is in between 260 and 270. Notice we're focusing on the tens place. That's why it's called rounding to the nearest 10. So then we look at those two numbers and we decide, is 268 closer to 260 or 270? And we decide that 268 is closer to 270 because it's only 2 places away from 270. It's 8 places away from 260. That means 268 rounded to the nearest 10 is 270. Here's another example, round 3,750 to the nearest 100. So now we're going to focus on the hundreds place. So we need to find the two hundreds numbers that 3,750 is between. And that would be 3,700 and 3,800. Now, which is it closer to? This one's a little trickier because it's 50 away from both. It's 50 away from 3,700 and it's 50 away from 3,800. When that happens, when the number is exactly halfway between the two numbers, we automatically round up. So 3,750 rounded to the nearest 100 is 3,800. Building off of rounding, we can talk about estimating. So this is usually in word problems, or they might even do standalone problems about estimating, but these are keywords you should look for. If they ask you to estimate, or if they say about how much is this, those are keywords that tell you you need to estimate. And when we do that, estimating is simply rounding the numbers in the problem before performing the operation, before you add or subtract or multiply or divide. So you just have to round the numbers before you do that. So for example, you're asked to estimate the sum of 467 and 312. The first step is to round both of those numbers to the nearest 100. So 467 would round to 500, 312 would round to 300, and then adding is much easier. 500 plus 300 equals 800, so that is the estimate of those two numbers. That's all for your lesson this time. Make sure you do your practice problems, post any questions so we can talk about them next time, and we will see you in lesson 17.